Pantalone, also known by his title of Regrator, is the 9th of the 11 Fatui Harbingers. In version 2.7, he was mentioned a number of times, both in Yelan's character stories and her story quest. So, in this video, I'll go over what we know about him, his plans, and when he may appear in the game. Also, if you like this video, consider subscribing. It helps me a lot, and I'd really appreciate it. Anyways, let's move right on and get into the video. About 7 months ago, I made a video about the Pale Flame artifact set. This set dives into the lore of many Fatui Harbingers, including Piero, Dottore, Scaramouche, Signora, and of course, Pantalone. The Sands artifact in this set, Moment of Cessation, is the one that gives us lore about Pantalone. We learn quite a bit about him from this artifact, including the fact that he does not possess a vision and that he was once very poor. Both of these may be reasons as to why he joined the Fatui, and why he is angry at the gods for holding the world's money in their grasp, even though they have no need for it. According to Andre at the Northland Bank in Liyue, Pantalone is in charge of Snezhnaya's economics, and he is trying to have the Northland Bank become more integrated into Liyue's economy. This also ties back into the Pale Flame artifact set, where it was said that his goal is to control all of the money in Teyvat. Another NPC that mentions Pantalone is Landa at Wangshuin in Liyue, who claims to be a traveling merchant in the wine business. However, he is actually a Fatui agent working under Pantalone, and mentions him in his idol quote. In fact, Landa may be the Snezhnayan merchant that was mentioned in Noelle's second character story, who she accidentally scared off with her hospitality and dutiful nature. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Pantalone has gotten quite a few new mentions in version 2.7. In Yelan's character story, The Fascinating Bracelet and the White Silk Mantle, it describes her encounter with the Fatui Harbinger. In the story, it was said that Yelan intercepted a rare and valuable robe that was meant as a gift from the Tsaritsa from Pantalone. This coat was so valuable due to its origin. It was made from the fur of a mythical beast that died centuries ago, yet it was so powerful that its body is still intact to this day. After stealing the robe, Yelan made quite a few changes to it. She yanked the fur off and used some yarn from Liyue to change up the style. It's actually the same mantle she wears in her outfit now. Pantalone was also mentioned briefly during Yelan's story quest, so spoilers for that quest if you haven't played it yet. In the new quest, the Fatui plotted to assassinate Uncle Tian in order to interfere with the election of the new Tianshu, in order to place a pawn in the Liyue Qixing and control one of its members. Even though the plan was a failure for the Fatui, Pantalone managed to prevent Yelan from making a Fatui member named Theophan into a pawn for herself and Liyue. From this quest, we know that Pantalone still has his eyes on Liyue. So now, I'd like to get into what his plans may be, and how he may go about them. At the end of Yelan's story quest, you can ask Uncle Tian about a few people and other topics, and one of the people you can ask about is Pantalone. In this brief dialogue, he mentions that Pantalone is planning something big, and that his plans may very well shake the world to its core. There are two separate plans that I believe Pantalone has in the big picture. The first is about the Liyue Qixing. As I said earlier, Pantalone's goal in Yelan's story quest was to take control of one of the members of the Liyue Qixing, specifically in a new Tianshu, which is why he wanted to assassinate Uncle Tian. Of course, he was unsuccessful, but this doesn't mean his plans for the Liyue Qixing are over. The Liyue Qixing oversees many aspects and areas of Liyue, which of course includes the Golden House and the minting of more for the entirety of Teyvat. This reason in particular is why I believe Pantalone will still want to infiltrate the Liyue Qixing, as his overall goal is to control the flow of all more in Teyvat. We learn from Zhongli at the end of the Liyue Archon quests that the creation of Mora is tied to the power of the Geo-Archon and the Geonosis. With this in mind, it is also possible that Pantalone may want the power of the Geonosis for himself, and may try to steal it from wherever it is currently located. However, it is possible that Pantalone won't go against the Tsaritsa, and will just be permitted to use the Gnosis to achieve his goal of controlling the world's money. As for when he will appear and set this goal into action, I have a few ideas. So now, let's get into the final section of this video, where we go into when he'll appear in-game. With all the mentions that he has gotten lately, it is possible that the game is hinting towards him popping up quite soon, possibly in the nation of Dendro, Sumeru. It would also be interesting if Scaramouche was in Sumeru at the same time, as perhaps Scaramouche could inform Pantalone about the truth behind the Gnosis, and why he wouldn't want the Geonosis after all. However, I think it is more likely that he'll appear when we return to Liyue sometime after the Sumeru Archon quests. Perhaps it'll be another interlude Archon quest, in which Pantalone plays a more active role instead of just plotting and acting from the shadows like he did in Yelan's story quest. I think this idea is the most likely of the two, as the Fatui have many agents planted around Liyue, and they also have a branch of the Northern Bank in Liyue Harbor. Like I mentioned earlier, Pantalone is in charge of Snezhnaya's economics, which would extend to this branch, so perhaps he could use his role at the bank as cover for his real plans. He could use the guise of a routine checkup on the branch or just some matter he has to deal with personally there, while also starting the next phase of his plan to take over the Golden House and the production of Mora. His eyes are still on Liyue after all, so I think an appearance here would make the most sense. Either way, I think he may also have some sort of role in the endgame of Genshin. Perhaps we may foil his plans in the theoretical interlude chapter that I mentioned, and instead, he achieves his goals when we reach Snezhnaya or even Khaenri'ah. It would be pretty cool if we had to go around to the previous regions to stop the Harbingers from causing chaos everywhere, with Pantalone being in Liyue. This could also lead to some endgame weekly bosses for each region, but honestly I don't know how practical 7 new weekly bosses would be at the same time, no matter how cool it would be. If it is true, maybe only 2 more Harbingers will become weekly bosses throughout the main story, and the other remaining 7 will become bosses at the end. Even though it won't likely happen, it's still fun to think about. I want to hear your thoughts about Pantalone and his potential role in the future down below in the comments as well. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I will see you all in the next video.